Good afternoon. It is 3 p.m. and I'll call to order the Board of Directors regular meeting study session for Thursday, November 13th, 2025. May I have a roll call, please?
Director Meyerhoffen.
Here.
Director Duff.
Present.
Director Martin.
Here.
Vice President Griffith.
Present.
And President Sewell.
Here.
Thank you. We have quorum.
Thank you. And seeing that all directors are present, we'll skip item 3. Item 4 we'll be doing on Monday. Item 5, rules of procedure, Counselor?
Yes, according to the rules of procedure adopted by the Board of Directors, all noticed meetings are conducted using Rosenberg's Rules of Order as a procedural guideline. Directors should refrain from responding directly to public comments at meetings of the board. The president of the board presides at all meetings and decides all points of order and procedure during meetings. The president is responsible for the maintenance of order and decorum at all board meetings. No person should be allowed to speak who has not first been recognized by the president. All questions and remarks should be addressed to the president as the presiding officer. No member of the board should speak more than once upon any one subject until every other member of the board wishing to speak on the subject shall have been given an opportunity to speak. No board member shall interfere with the orderly progress of a board meeting.
Thank you. Item 6, public input. This is the opportunity for members of the public to address the board on matters within the board's jurisdiction. Please limit comments to 3 minutes or less. State law prohibits the board from discussing or taking action on any item not listed on the agenda. Do we have any members of the public wishing to address the board?
President Sewell, not online.
Okay, seeing none here in person, we'll move on to, employee recognition will be on Monday. So we'll move on to our action items. Item 8, Monday will be a public hearing, and that is for Ordinance 2025-03, amending sewer service rules and regulations, Article 7, grease, sand, interceptors, and Article 11, enforcement.
Thank you, President. So as you mentioned, we will have the public hearing on Monday, but we did want to provide an update to the board in a short presentation. Daniel, would you like to provide this?
Hello, everyone. My name is Daniel Virgin. I'm an associate engineer here at the Mission Springs Water District. So President, members of the board, staff is proposing some changes and updates to Article 7 and 11 to reinforce and strengthen our ordinance. I am very, let me scoot this over a little bit. I'm very briefly going to go through the presentation as I'll go more in depth on our public hearing meeting and on Monday, November 17th. Clicker is not working. Oh. Everything that's struck out in red here, everything that's struck out in red is the language that we're going to be removing, and everything in red that doesn't have the strike through is language that we're going to be adding. So one of the things we highlighted was including into our ordinance language of Article 7, grease, sand, interceptors for transparency. The other is that we revised language for comprehension and readability, as you can see. Continuing on Article 7, Section 7.05, interceptor requirements. As you can see, we revised the language and included clear language on expectations, responsibility, permit requirements, and enforcement. Continuing on Article 7, but this time, this Section 7.17 waiver, we added language on approved waiver facilities shall still be included in the interceptor permit, noting their waiver status, and will be inspected annually by the district to confirm continued eligibility. Article 11, Section 11.05, civil penalties. We updated the timeline for the fines where it calls for $1,000 per day for the first 30 days. Then we increased it to $5,000 per day for the next 30 days. Then we increased it again for $10,000 per day for the next 60 days. Then after that, termination of water and sewer services. Additionally, we are requiring permit holders to notify the district immediately when they believe compliance has been met. Again, I would like to reiterate that I'll go more in depth on the proposed changes on Monday in our public hearing meeting. Additionally, we're requesting the board to adopt the revised ordinance.
Thank you. Questions or comments, Director Martin?
Nope.
Director Maya?
No.
Director Duff?
Just one clarification on the enforcement portion, 7.17, is that for all that use this particular, or is it for all enforcement issues across the board? Or is it this particular, just the fog and?
This is just in fog, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Vice President? And I have nothing further. Thank you, Daniel. Moving on to item 9, award of contract amendment number 1 to Kenwood Energy for professional engineering services to provide construction management services for the power purchase agreement. General Manager?
Thank you, President Sewell. I'll ask our Director of Operations, Danny Friend, to provide this presentation. Danny?
Good afternoon, President Sewell, members of the board. What we are asking today is to do an amendment to a contract that we brought in front of the board back in December of 2024. That contract was for Kenwood Energy. We had previous contracts with them to help negotiate the contract. We completed the PPA and lease agreement, and then we did this construction management, project management contract shortly after we executed with Trident, or with the Trident team. The anticipated term and costs was to cover during the construction. However, during the beginning of the construction, we had some issues with design. They helped us. They're instrumental in helping us get through some of the design, making sure that we met code. We also had some amendments that we had to negotiate. We did go back and forth with some legal issues with potential litigation. So that took up a little bit additional time that we had allocated for the duration of the normal project. So unfortunately, where we are in the project, we are bringing this amendment for an additional $80,000 to get us through the completion of all 3 sites. That includes the Horton site that's currently under construction. As of this morning, the Nancy Wright facility that we plan to start on December 1. And shortly in the first quarter, maybe slightly into the second quarter of 2026, the new Res BCT site, which will be north of our existing site. So this amendment allows the district staff to continue to utilize Kenwood Energy for future RFIs. Since the last amendment to the Trident contract that we brought to the board, it allowed us to operate and treat each of the solar sites individually rather than a whole. It has created a little bit of extra paperwork, if you will. It's not a bad thing. We've got separate RFIs for these separate sites. Of course, the invoices, the change orders that we've actually had to negotiate, and they handle and facilitate all of our construction meetings that we do weekly. So for those reasons, that's why we're bringing this change order or this amendment to the board for consideration. If you remember, one of the reasons why we chose Kenwood Energy is when we first started using them over 3 years ago, they had an impeccable 25-year track record. Now we've been part of the additional 3 years with them, but their services span like energy management, covering billing and savings analysis. So that's one of the things that they've also helped us in is their expertise in being able to rearrange our current ResBT site so that we can maximize the size of the proposed site. So for those reasons, that is why we're bringing this amendment to you. That's all I have today for the presentation. Tim Holmes, the principal for Kenwood Energy, is on the call if there are additional questions that I can't answer. I'm happy to answer if there are any questions.
Thank you, Danny. Director Duff?
I almost hate to ask the question. So last month, when we had an additional change to other contracts that had to do with our solar project as a whole, you had given us a number of where we were at as far as district investment as a total. Can you, if we approve this, can you tell us what that will be, just for full transparency, and when we would be able to recoup that in our savings? Like, how many years? Will it add an additional year, an additional?
So let me break that down a little bit. So yes, I did mention I anticipated the need to bring a project budget amendment, which would be a capital budget augmentation. And we did a burn rate analysis before we put this together. And that's the reason why I removed that from today's request or today's action. What we do plan as staff is to bring that to the board in January as part of a mid-year budget augmentation. And I don't have the exact number, but I can estimate that based on the cost that we've expended thus far, we may be nearing just south of $1 million. And I'd like to come back to that. One of the things that I wasn't present for, which was the last workshop, but I had the opportunity to review it with General Manager Macy. And if we were to go as high as $1 million in district costs, it would, I believe it projected to be about a 3-year return on investment.
Mhm.
So I believe the board saw, and I know that Tim is here to answer questions regarding this item and potentially additional questions regarding that presentation. But on a 25-year projection, I believe the general manager showed me that it was a 3-year payback if we were to have $1 million of district costs.
Okay.
Yes, and this $100,000 increase was included in that $1 million. So that's why we sort of selectively show, even though we were a little bit ahead, we just wanted to show with the inspection and this, it was close to $1 million. So that's why we showed that in totality. And as Danny said, Tim Holmes can go over that slide in more detail if you'd like to, because he has prepared.
No, I
for
just
that.
keep
But if
those
not,
little running
no.
tallies in my head,
No,
and I'm
1
just
million-
trying to remember
1
where
million
we're
should be
at.
out the door.
No, and thank you for that clarification, General Manager. The reason that there's still sufficient funding
Okay.
within the existing capital budget.
And then I know that we anticipate some potential costs associated with clearing the property north of Nancy Wright and getting it prepared for development. Have we gotten any, I mean, is Kenwood going to be assisting in that process as well? And is that included in this price?
Yes, so this contract is to help facilitate project management, some construction management through the duration of construction, that construction.
Okay.
And so while the Res BCT project may continue past, some of the work that we'll be utilizing Kenwood Energy for may not be needed, but this should get us through the end of that process.
Okay.
What I wanted to come back to is the job number that's been created that we're talking about, which is the capital budget. It wasn't just created when we started working with the Staten team and created the Trident MSWD project. If you recall, years back, Kenwood Energy helped us with negotiating the process with NG. So there's a good amount, and I don't have that amount here to share today, and that's not what we're here to discuss, but there's a fair amount that was already incurred before we started getting into the project with Staten Energy, Staten Solar. So it's not, so while I know there's been comments made that this isn't going to cost us anything, and I hear it, there were costs involved prior to working with Staten and prior to us working on this PPA and this solar project. But with all projects,
Is there a way to maybe separate all of the work Kenwood did with NG and the previous
Certainly.
from this particular job?
Yeah.
Just so that it's a clearer, easier pill to swallow?
I had planned to prepare that and present that during the budget augmentation or the mid-year. I can do it
Perfect.
prior to that if there's a request.
No, perfect.
So
Thank
yeah, our report, fortunately, our reporting for a transaction listing is by date, by vendor, by staff. And we're able to go ahead and take everything by the time frame where the board made a decision not to move forward with the project.
Okay.
And then, of course, then Kenwood came on board to help us understand, well, we've done all this work. What is it? What can we do with this? And simply a lesser risk,
Yeah.
if you will, PPA project is where we are today.
Awesome.
But yes, I can easily break that down, provide that, show you what was expended prior during this project and what is needed to get us to the duration of the project.
Perfect. I think that'll be perfect for the budget time. You don't have to do it separate. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
And sorry to jump in just while we're on it. So the work done on the NG side is included in that. I know we're rounding up, but included in that 1 million.
Yeah, just to get geeky, we created the job number, which is 11776. It's a cost center. And that cost center has existed since the infancy stages of working with NG.
Okay.
And so all staff time, all third-party consultant time, any legal time, even looking at agreements. Because remember, there was quite a bit of legal time going back to see if that was, the projections and everything. NG, well, Kenwood helped us do that. And while those costs are on there, they're associated with the NG project and a different contract instrument at that time.
Okay. Thank you. Vice President? Nope. Director Martin? Nope. Director Martin? Thank you, Danny.
Thank you.
Item 10 is Resolution 2025-20, and that's approving the initial study and adopting the mitigated negative declaration for the Mission Springs Water District street improvements for the Regional Wastewater Reclamation Facility project. General Manager?
Thank you, President Sewell. Eric Weck, our engineering manager, will be presenting this presentation. Eric?
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, President Sewell and members of the board. Item 10 of this afternoon's agenda pertains to the board adopting Resolution 2025-20 at the regular board meeting next week, finding that impacts due to the construction of the roadway project around the regional plant will result in non-significant or impacts that can be reduced to a level of insignificance for various environmental categories. The project scope will involve the construction of over a mile of city standard roadways along 19th and 20th Avenues, as well as Little Morongo Road around the recently constructed Nancy Wright Regional Wastewater Reclamation Facility. Presently, dirt roads exist around the new regional plant and connect with other developments such as Amazon and the 20th Avenue Logistics Center. The district is in the final stages now of completing the design for the roadways, which will fill in the missing transportation links for this area. Note, only roadways fronting the Mission Springs Regional Plant property will be constructed, and are only required to do so by the city of Desert Hot Springs. The district, serving as the California Environmental Quality Act lead agency, has, through the efforts and expertise of Tom Dodson and Associates, found that a mitigated negative declaration would be an appropriate environmental determination which complies with CEQA requirements. Staff recommends that the board adopt the resolution 2025 and approve the initial study. A mitigated negative declaration, mitigation monitoring reporting plan, notice of determination, and an initial study were prepared for this project phase. Adoption of the resolution has no fiscal impact. Also online, it's Caitlin Dodson Hamilton to help answer any technical questions pertaining to the CEQA process and what the next steps are for the environmental phase of this project. Finally, as an update, the project has recently cleared the air quality and greenhouse gas milestones, and we should be able to proceed under the initial study as we anticipated. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Eric. Director Martin? No. Director Martin? No. Director Duff?
I hate being the only one. Quick question on the streets itself. Are they going to be curbed on either side of the street, both west and east sides of Morongo and north and south sides, or is it just going to be curbed along the side of the street where our property is?
I believe it's going to be curbed. Let's take a look at 19th here. It's going to be curbed on both the north and south sides of 19th. It's going to be curbed along the west side of Little Morongo Road. And I believe it's going to be curbed on the north side of 20th Avenue. Now, when I say curb, I mean concrete curb. Yeah. There will be an asphalt concrete dike, which is similar to a curb, but it's made out of asphalt. I'm sure you've seen them around the city, where there will be an asphalt concrete dike on the south side of 20th on the east side of Little Morongo Road. That's just to contain the drainage. And then as I believe the east side of Little Morongo Road, a portion of that is in the conservation area. I'm not sure if that will ever be fully improved.
With the
That's-
amount of potential water movement through the wash, just north and between there into the conservation lands, I just wanted to make sure that we were doing everything we needed to do. And I had a clear understanding of that we were protecting that part of our plant and that area with the water movement so that we didn't have future erosion problems, because I can't understand how to read the markings. I'm not very good at the map stuff. So thank you for clarifying that. That was what I was hoping to hear, and I appreciate the clarifications.
Ma'am, if I might, I'd like to also add, during the Hurricane Hillary event of about 2 years ago, there was some significant drainage that came through there, but it didn't do any significant damage to Little Morongo Road. And I believe from what I heard is that a majority of that drainage was just east of Little Morongo Road, and it didn't really impact that street or the plant site.
I have the same understanding. I just watched the way that the desert is groomed in that particular area, and it looks like it had flooded there before. So that means it could definitely happen again. And it seems to be bigger events instead of littler events. So I just was trying to get a clear picture in my own head, and you did a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice President?
The paving, on 19th, you said there's curbs on both sides. Are we doing full width of that street?
Yes.
And then 20th, are we just doing a half a width?
A hair more than half. It's to make sure that we have both northbound and southbound lanes, as well as
Okay.
accommodate sidewalks on our side of the right.
Okay, and then on Little Morongo, are we doing just a little more than half and then we're kind of diking it there?
There'll be an asphalt concrete curb, or a dike, as some say, on the east side of Little Morongo Road.
But are we doing full width or half width?
We're doing half.
Okay, that's what I thought. Thank you.
And just while we're on it, just a curiosity, once Amazon improves, will 20th be paved all the way out to Indian? There won't be a dirt road. We'll have full access.
I believe 20th will be, once we're done with our section, 20th will be fully paved.
Okay. That'd be nice. Anything further? General Manager?
I have a question. No. Eric, when you said that you're trying to divert this water with the road improvements, where do you want all this water to end up at?
I believe it naturally drains down to the southeast corner, right where Little Morongo Road and 20th come together. And there's a natural drainage way that water, the drainage flows southeasterly.
I think where they had all that road construction for a while after the Hillary, and you're talking about that little area there for it to drain down into. I think I know what you're talking about. Okay, I got a good picture of it. Thank you, Eric.
General Manager?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I know that some of the questions were, are we building full width? And I just wanted to be clear that some people, when they consider a full width, if you look at their thoroughfare plan, it's supposed to be 2 lanes going in each direction, north and south. Because of the conservation area on the east side of Little Morongo, it is going to be just the 2 lanes going north and south. And when the extra right of way is acquired by the city, then the city will build that second. So in reality, we're building 2 lanes there, a little bit larger, so we can have semi-traffic if necessary as overflow to go north and south and that's why we're not saying curb to curb. It's just the asphalt curb. So I just want to make it clear that when we're taking full way across, it's going to be 2 lanes in both directions, but there is going to be provisions from the city's perspective in the thoroughfare plan to have 2 lanes in each direction for a total of 4 lanes.
Thank you. We'll move on to item 11, and that's award. Thank you, Eric. Award of contract to Civic Plus for website design, hosting, and agenda management services. General Manager.
Thank you, President Sewell. I'll ask our Assistant General Manager, Mary Champion, for this item. Mary?
Thank you, General Manager Macy, and good afternoon, Board of Directors. Today, I am going to give you an overview of a proposal we have for Civic Plus to be our website host. They also design and then also do our content management system and agenda management systems. We issued an RFP back in July, and staff reviewed 19 requests for proposal responses. And then following the scoring, we held interviews with the top 4 candidates. Following the interviews, it was unanimous that Civic Plus was the top rated organization. They hit all of the top qualities, one of which was our agenda management system, which I'll go into in greater detail in just a moment. Civic Plus has been a leader in government websites for several years. I remember looking at proposals more than 10 years ago before I even joined MSWD, and they've been very active in the government website space. And they've been very active also with several acquisitions, and they have been a top performer on all of the awards when you look at their references. I'm going to hit some of the key things that I felt in their proposal that were really important to us as a district. And then, of course, if you have any additional questions, we can look at that as well. One of the key services will be a redesign of our website. And this is really important because it's going to be looking at the accessibility going into the WAG 2.0 accessibility. It brings us up a level. With right now, it's estimated that 1 in 4 adults in the U.S. Is living with a disability. And so it's been there's been a lot of legislation passed, and there's been a lot of activity in this area of trying to get websites more accessible. And by upgrading our website, we will have a better, more accessible site. Also, more than 62% of people are using mobile devices these days to look at websites. And so one of the things that we'd like to do and make sure that we will have some the more responsive design improvements to our website. So people who are on their devices, on their phones or on their tablets, they'll have a better experience. Other key features, of course, we're going to want a good calendaring system. The news information and the e-notification systems were also very, very important things that we've added to our current site after we originally launched, and we'll be able to do this from the very beginning. Next slide, please. Other services include the hosting and customer support. We're going to have some expanded security with our single sign-on functionality, including multi-factor authentication options. This is more on the back-end side for staff when we're going in and making edits. The general public won't need that single sign-on necessarily, but we need that from a backside so that we can make edits. There'll also be some enhanced user analytics. Right now, we rely on Google Analytics if we want to look at anything, and those are just free for anyone. That has a website can use those Google Analytics. As part of this proposal, they will be taking that up a notch, and hopefully I'll be able to glean a piece of that report, and we'll be able to add that into the general manager's report moving forward. Also, as part of that hosting services, we'll have 24/7 technical support. One of the things important to me is that from a database perspective, they do have multiple copies and multiple geographically diverse data centers. So if, let's say, there was something that happened and all of the data centers in California were to be wiped out, they would be able to get our site up and running on one of the other sites. So that's one of the reasons we want to go out and have this hosted by an agency such as this. And of course, there's around-the-clock protection against cyber attacks. Next slide, please. One of the things that as a user of our website, you don't see, which is the content management system. Our current site is built on the Drupal content management system, and that's the system that we use as employees to make edits to the website. For me, I'm not a huge fan of the Drupal site. I really like some of the other CMS systems that are out there, and we'll be moving from this the Drupal or the Web Central site to the Civic Engage platform. And there's a number of benefits by moving to that. For me, some of the things that I'm most looking forward to is right now we are very limited in our image placement, and so sometimes we're having to do workarounds to figure out where we can place an image on the page, whether or not we can do multiple images. We also have limited video embedding capabilities, and this will give us the ability to put more YouTube players in different places and embed that content. There will also be less need to contact customer support for website updates. One of the things on our homepage, there's several areas on the homepage that we are limited that we cannot make those changes, and then we have to reach out to their customer service. It takes a day or two for those edits to be made, and I'm looking forward to being able to limit those areas of our site. Of course, we'll have enhanced user permissions. There is a way for us to lock down certain areas. So if, let's say it's somebody from customer service and they're looking at making edits to a page that's related to customer service, someone in the contracts area or someone in another engineering, we can lock down those different areas of the site so they only have the ability to make edits on sites that are related to their job responsibilities. And of course, there'll be some enhancements for our forms and for the user permissions as well. One of the big areas, though, that I felt that a lot of the 19 proposals that came through, this is where a lot of the different agencies really fell down, which was the agenda management. We use the MuniCode agenda management system currently, and that's part of Civic Plus. MuniCode Civic Plus bought out MuniCode a few years back. And so we're on one of the legacy systems on MuniCode for our agenda management system. The new system is it, but a lot more. We'll be able to do some automated workflows and approval processes. So if, let's say, Eric is putting together a staff agenda, he will actually be doing it within the MuniCode system. He wouldn't do it in a Microsoft Word document and then email it to Dory and then Dory uploads it. Instead, everything will get done in the system. And then we can actually do approval processes so that, let's say, someone in engineering is doing that and they send it over to Eric. Eric can approve it, and then it goes up the chain that direction. So that's a big step and improvement over what we're doing right now. We'll be able to do those, again, those staff reports right there in the system. We will also be creating our agendas and our agenda packets right there in the system, which we are doing now, but this is just less kludgy. I would consider the current site a little bit kludgy at times. And I believe this is going to save Dory some time and energy. Kludgy? You don't know that word? I've used it. I don't know. It's, you got what I was saying though, right? Kludgy?
I wasn't really sure.
Okay. Either which way. So I think, though, it's going to save a lot of time for Dory, because I know when I've had to post agendas, I'll go in and out of the system. She will sometimes have to export the agenda back into a Word document, make changes, then re-export it back in because it just is not looking right on the screens. So I believe that this is going to save some time. And when we have 600-page agendas with multiple attachments, you can see why this is really important to us. Even out of the 4 finalists that we interviewed, everyone in their proposals said, yes, we have an agenda management system. But then when we actually called them on that and we actually asked them about it, that's when then most of the agencies fell down. Either they didn't have one themselves, they wanted us to use a third-party system, or they were in development of creating a system that they thought would fit our needs. There were only 2 agencies that actually had a working agenda management system in-house, and that had made it to those top 4 that we really felt comfortable looking at. So again, that's one of the main reasons why we felt that the Civic Plus system was going to be a good system for MSWD. Last slide. Again, as I mentioned before, Civic Plus has a very strong history and track record of providing resources for government clients and communities, and we are definitely looking forward to implementing this as our new website offering.
Great, thank you. Any questions, Director Martin?
No.
Director Martin?
It seems like some of the things in here that for cybersecurity and that kind of thing, aren't we already doing that with another company? I mean, this is like we're doing this twice.
A lot of what I know Kurt does a lot with cybersecurity, protecting our resources, things behind our firewall. This website will not live behind our firewall. This website will live on a data center outside of our firewall, so it will have its own security systems in place, separate from our security system. So I guess you could say it would be a duplication, but because they're in different locations and managed separately, they both need their own security systems.
All right, thank you.
Director Duff?
I'm so excited for you and for all the staff. I'm excited to see this become a more streamlined process. And I think that, so many things have been antiquated in so many ways, and there's so many hands that have to touch one particular thing, and so many programs that one thing has to filter through and pull data from. I'm excited. Just make sure that your staff questions that they've had or any concerns, that we nail it down before we go into the contract. I've heard wonderful things about this particular company, and they're buying out other companies and have a history of that. So they're gaining more capabilities and more data that they are able to draw from that we benefit from. But make sure that we hold them to the fire and the promises that they make. Lastly, if you were to guess, after we, if it moves forward, implement this, let's say a year of the transferring and getting used to and working out all the data, how much savings overall do you think the district would see in staff time and in the multiple different processes that we paid for, licensing that we wouldn't have to pay for anymore? I see a big savings. I just am curious if you've thought about it from that perspective.
I have not put a dollar to it. I know intangibly or inherently, it feels like there will be savings because there's not as many workarounds, but I have not put a dollar figure to that.
So maybe in a year, depending on how the vote goes on Monday, you can bring back to the board an update and kind of fill us in on what that has saved, not just in staff time, but in processes and licenses and all of those things. I'd really love to just see the process of that.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
Vice President?
When do we expect this to go live?
Their implementation says as much as 6 months, but I think we will probably streamline that a little bit, mostly because we kind of already know what we want. I know I want a clean website. I know I want a calendar. I know I want an image carousel on the front. Our current website, we have that little tiny box for news and alerts, and you can't even see a whole headline. So I've already got some ideas, and staff has some ideas of what we would like to see from a wireframe perspective. So I think we're going to be able to speed this along. In the proposal, you'll notice they actually came back with transferring over 100 pages of content for us. We have over 255 pages of content on our site. And so we've negotiated a price to actually do the entire site after we do some cleanup on our own, though, so that we're not taking garbage in, garbage out. So we will have to do a little bit of work on our own to make sure that everything that moves over is clean and good information. But it really is a testament to how transparent we've really been working. When we did our first website with MuniCode originally, I think we had 100 pages of content that we moved over. Now we're looking at 255 pages of content that we're moving over. So I do think that number will come down a little bit. I think we'll find some old pages that can be cleaned up and consolidated. And that's part of that, having a new CMS system. I'll give you guys a great example. Your board page where we have the five boxes for photos. Because we have more than one photo on that page, we cannot program that page ourselves. I actually have to have someone over there at the one from the agency actually go in there and hard code that page. And that's where having a better CMS system is really going to benefit us in the long range.
Thank you.
And I'm probably getting ahead of myself, but eventually when we have to switch to .gov from .org, are there things we can do as we implement this to make that transition easier, or?
There's not going to be much to do when we switch over. It's more just where you point the direction. I can give you a quick update on that. We did apply for the MSWD.org. Am I saying that right, Kurt? Excuse me, MSWD.gov application. We did not receive that. Now we have done MSWD.ca.gov. Did I get that right? Kurt's been handling that for us. We're trying to get ahead of the curve because one of the things I'm hoping that we will not have is to have the whole name, Mission Springs Water District MSWD.ca.gov. And so the hope is that if we are an early adopter, we might be able to keep our small MSWD.ca.gov. But we do not know. That application is still pending. And from what we've been hearing from a legislation standpoint, it's not a matter of if, it's more a matter of when it happens. So we're trying to get ahead of the curve.
Great. Anything further? Thank you, Marion.
Thank you.
Item 12, contract amendment for West Yost for professional engineering services for design and permitting modifications to the Horton wastewater treatment plant percolation ponds. General Manager.
Thank you, President Sewell. I'll ask our Associate Engineer, Daniel Virgin, to provide this presentation. Daniel.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Daniel Virgin. I'm an Associate Engineer, and I'm going to be presenting item 12, contract amendment for West Yost for design and permit modification services to the Horton wastewater treatment facility plant for the percolation ponds. So President, members of the board, as we all know and are really excited, the district is planning to construct a new critical service center and to support the development. 4 items need to occur. The first one is to relocate pond 7 and 8. Second one is to reduce pond 4. The third one is to reconfigure the discharge pipeline to pond 7 and potentially pond 8, and to amend our waste discharge requirement permit from the water board to capture all these changes. Okay, so here is the existing layout of the Horton facility. As we can see, all 8 ponds are in the middle of that exhibit. We got the sludge drying bed on the east portion of the exhibit, and we got the corp yard. So the footprint of the critical service center is going to take up all the area of the corp yard. It's going to take a portion of pond 7. Additionally, it's going to take a portion of pond 4. Therefore, we got to make some space to make this happen. So we're looking to keep all 8 ponds. So we're proposing to move pond 8, and that will be shifted east, and we'll replace the sludge drying bed. And pond 7 will also follow east as well. Additionally, pond 4 will be reduced in size as the northern portion of pond 4 will become a basin. Next slide, please. So this exhibit shows the impact of the critical service center, and it also shows if we weren't to relocate the ponds and reduce the size of the pond. So as we can see, pond 7 is impacted and pond 4 is also impacted. Next slide, please. So this exhibit here shows the proposed changes. So as we can see, we relocate pond 8 and 7. We move it east of the facility, or a little east of where the treatment plant is, and the pond 4 is also reduced in size. As you can see, it becomes a little bit smaller, and the discharge pipeline for pond 7 would have to be relocated. It's not shown on the exhibit. Next slide. So staff is recommended to authorize the general manager to execute an amendment for West Yost in the amount of $153,560 for a not to exceed total amount, contract amount for $419,566 to perform design and permit modifications to the Horton facility plant.
Thank you. Any questions, Director Duff?
Can you go back a slide? So the only thing I didn't see was where the sludge drying was being placed.
So the sludge drying bed is currently hasn't been used for, I think, any like 20 years or more. From the drying sludge bed.
The 8.
Go back one more slide.
Back.
Keep going.
Right there.
There you go.
I'm sorry, I was multitasking. Were you asking about the one that's identified on the right side of 8?
Yes.
Yeah, where is that relocated to?
So just a little history. Daniel and I talked about this earlier. I told him to help him out. The sludge drying bed that you see there are sand beds. They're sand, earth, and bottom.
Okay.
And they used to be a lot larger than they are. There used to be actually 3 sets of those. When we built Pond 6, we actually removed a section of them and we kept those. The reason we went with the asphalt beds that you'll see where it says Horton Wastewater Treatment Plant, that dialogue box, and then there's those concrete. So in expansion 4, we put 12 asphalt beds.
Okay.
And that was taking place of the sludge drying beds at one time. And just a little history, if you go to the right side of Pond 3, there's a 100 by 100 foot asphalt pad. So we used to take our sludge and we used to remove it from the sand beds and place it there so it reached a certain temperature, so it would be a biosolid, Class B biosolid, and was hauled away for. And we had reduced our hauling expense by almost 35% because we had a tendency of picking up a little bit more sand than we needed. So the solution to that was the asphalt beds. The asphalt beds were great until they just didn't decant or they didn't drain like they're supposed to. And then we had multiple beds, which is then the reason why the evolution led us to the belt filter press.
Okay.
So our dewatering is now in our belt filter press. So what needs to be understood is our current WDR, our waste discharge requirement, our permit indicates that we have 8 ponds and indicates that we still have a sludge drying. So to reconfigure ponds 7 and 8 to a similar size maybe, but maybe equal footprint to the right or to the east, we'll have to eliminate that drying bed. And in order to do that, that's what Daniel was speaking to, is this contract includes the help of West Geos to help prepare what they call the Form 200, which would be an amendment process to our WDR.
Okay. My main concern is, of course, the community to the south. And I just wanted to make sure that if we were using something like that, it wasn't getting moved down to the bottom corner or somewhere like that near where the houses were.
Great-
That
great
would be a
concern.
community concern. So since it's not being used and it's done differently and everything is not changing in that respect, then I have no concerns.
Yeah, so for clarification, just to put closure
Thank
to
you.
that, our sludge handling will not be any different than we are doing it today. So, thank you.
Vice President? Director Martin? Director Margot?
Yes. How often do these ponds need to be rebuilt or cleaned or redone? I was going to say you probably should stay there, but let it go.
Not a problem. So the ponds themselves are, when we use them, you can see, for example, there's 4 ponds that in this particular exhibit. We typically have 2 ponds on at a time. And when they reach their limit to where we want to take them off, they'll be turned off. So what you see here is you see ponds 7 and 3 being used, and you see ponds 1 and 2 in that process of percolating. So as soon as the water in ponds 1 and 2 percolate, we'll go in there and we'll just groom the bottom up. And that's about the maintenance. That's about the initial maintenance that we'll have to do. So the answer to your question is we put ponds on about 2 weeks at a time, and then we take them off and put 2 other ponds on. And about maybe a week, those other 2 ponds will dry up to where we can get in there and clean the bottom. And then by that time, we're already playing that hopscotch game. We're putting 2 other ponds. So our staff will take 2 ponds at a time active, and then you'll generally see 2 ponds that are just been inactivated. But we don't have to do any type of major slope reconfiguration or any type of construction. These ponds, as they are, I can tell you that ponds 1, 2, and 3 were redone and actually built almost 5 years ago. A little over 5 years ago, and we have not done anything other than the maintenance I just described.
Was that when we were having, the percolation problem?
I didn't want to bring it up, but it was associated with that time.
Sorry.
Okay. That was going to be my next question here. Didn't about 2.5 years ago, we redid some of these ponds and made them larger? Or?
What we did is we built ponds 1, 2, and 3. It gave us a total of 8 ponds. As we know, some of the history with the spill is we had to capture that in our current waste discharge requirements. That's how we sit today. So what's being presented today is the appropriate approach to this project. and that is to get the design of the reconfigured ponds 7 and 8 to give us the room for the future critical services center, to reconfigure pond 4 to make it smaller for use, and also have a water quality management for ongoing drainage for our responsibility to take care of stormwater control in the future. And once that plan is completed, we'll be able to present it in a application package to the state. Once they approve it, then we'll be able to start work. So
This is my next big, thank you, Danny. And my next question is, I think we're hoping we can start breaking ground on the new facility here sometime in March. So what's your time frame here to start redoing these ponds? You know, because that can take
I don't have the
2 years
answer.
to build it, and you don't have a time frame?
I don't know per se. I'm going to turn it back over to Daniel, but what I've been told is that the timing should work perfect for everything.
Yeah, that's a discussion. If you guys do approve the amendment, or if the district does approve the amendment, that's a discussion we'll have with West Yos, as they might know or not might know that there's a time crunch on this. And as of right now, they're scheduled, the way they have it laid out is to break ground in April, May-ish. But if we can expedite the process, then hopefully we can do it in March, as we just mentioned.
All right, thank you.
I think the nice part is most of that is just our parking lot. The main building is going to be to the west. Thank you, Daniel.
Yeah, thanks, Daniel.
Discussion items, item 13, speaking of which, administrative building update. I know we had our workshop. Anything?
Exactly. Nothing has changed since our workshop update. And just to remind the board, we are still working with the city to finalize our offsite plans and even and tidy up some things with our existing site. We're also working with the city to come up with a development plan in the case that we do have to build something across the street to make sure that our interests are protected with our development impact fee, as well as we will also be bringing to the board once that's complete, but we'll also be bringing a reimbursement agreement with ourselves so we can then work with the potential Riverside County project across the street from our. So nothing has changed from last week, but that's where we are, and we hope to get those things resolved sometime in the next 6 weeks and get this project completed as quickly as we can.
Any questions or comments?
I was under the impression there was going to be an update for the lead green. Where we're at with it?
We can do that on Monday.
All right, thank you.
Director Duff? Vice President? All right. Groundwater Protection Program, item 14.
So in staying with the groundwater protection program update, as you know, the wastewater plan has been completed. We have M2 that's currently out for rebidding. The conveyance line has been completed, at least from Dos Palmas all the way to the Nancy Wright facility. That left only the diversion chamber at the Horton facility. So from that perspective, the diversion chamber has been constructed. The sluice gates are now active. We are now actively diverting flow to the Nancy Wright facility. The only thing remaining at that location is to put electrical items so we can have easier maintenance, if you will, of those sluice gates moving up and down, as well as telemetry to say what the level is and be able to monitor that at both plants to control the flow going between the two. So as we're talking through this, we get the diversion chamber, we start moving the flow out, then we can start having the time to do the ponds and moving those around, and then we'll be able to come in right behind it with the administrative building. So we're staying on all these schedules that were sort of intertwined, if you will.
And that electrical you mentioned is more a convenience.
It is, right? Yes. So those sluice gates can be manually operated up and down. Once we set them, as we talked about before, we want to divert a specific amount of flow so we can start taking the larger trains off for maintenance. And then after those two trains have been rehabbed, if you will, then we'll look at the smaller train, the smaller clarifiers that we have in the old brushes that actually kick some of that up. And then we'll probably start working through those, clean those up, and then make a decision there. Do we need to continue to operate those or basically leave them there for additional storage in case we have an issue with one of our other two ponds?
Okay. Questions or comments? All right. Consent agenda, item 15, approval of minutes, item 16, register of demands. Did we want to discuss either of those items today? No. All right. Anyone like to give their director report today?
I have to. I will not be here on Monday.
Oh, you can't do that.
So I attended along with President Sewell, Vice President Griffith, Director Meyerhoffen, the PSUSD Legislative Breakfast on October 8th. And that was the introduction basically to the public of the new superintendent, Dr. Marcus Funchess. I think he is off to a good start, especially with the schools and the city across the freeway here. He is making it very clear that he is focusing and going to be focusing on equalizing north and south of the freeway and providing additional resources to the Desert Hot Springs schools. So that's very encouraging, and we're going to hold him to it. As a mom, I am speaking from that as well. And then I also attended on 10/15 a webinar from AWWA on the future of water utility financial stability. I found it interesting that they were talking about insuring some of your infrastructure, and through that insurance, reducing some of the reserves that you hold for those particular items, because your insurance would cover a catastrophic issue to certain levels. And I am hoping that we can at least kind of look into what we have the ability or what we are covering and whether there is anything out there. I think that special districts and water districts might be a little different than the generality that they were talking about, but I'm hoping that we can get some additional information on that in the future. I also attended another one, implementing reliability maintenance program. I felt kind of proud of myself because we have had so many GIS and tracking and CIP maintenance program discussions that I didn't really feel like we missed a whole lot of opportunity to be on top of our maintenance. I think that the issue that we have that isn't alone, that a lot of the infrastructure water districts have, is biting the bullet and spending the money. And so I found it interesting that one comment that one of the individuals made was that the biggest problem they have in funding infrastructure are the electeds. So I think that I'm very proud of our board because I think that we do the opposite of that. And so I'm just wanting to say I'm proud to see that we're setting ourselves outside of that norm. Also attended on 10/23, the CVCAN monthly meeting. It was in Palm Desert at the Woodhaven Country Club. I wasn't able to stay very long, but I was able to speak to the president and also a repeat Desert Hot Springs operator that I was able to speak with again, and hopefully they will reach out to staff and correct some things soon. And for me, that does it for October. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Did anyone else want to give theirs today? Right. Item 18, General Manager's report.
Thank you, President Sewell. There is a report in your agenda packet, but I will also ask Skylar Aubrey to come up and give the finance report.
Good afternoon, President Sewell and members of the board. My name is Skylar Aubrey. I am the accounting manager, and I am here to present the financial summary for July 1st to September 30th, 2025. You will see operating results are more favorable than last year. Our net operating income was $791,000. Our non-operating income was $688,000 for a total change in net position of approximately $1.5 million. Compared to $835,000 last year. You will see two larger budget to actual variances, approximately $1.9 million in operating expenses, and this is due to the timing of expenses. Vendors can often be a few weeks behind in invoicing after the good or service was delivered, so the results are within expectations. The other variance is a $1.1 million unfavorable variance in non-operating revenue. And this is due to property taxes. Property taxes for the current year don't get received until October going forward. Property taxes received from July to September apply to the prior year. but we spread our budget evenly across all months. So the timing difference is also within expectations. You will see the debt service ratio went down to 1.09, and that is due to $3 million in grant cash receipts that we have not received from the state yet. Had we received those, the debt service ratio would be 5.23. And that is because we actually spent the 3 million, just haven't received the 3 million yet in revenue, which we will receive in the future. You will see cash went up $15 million. The biggest reason for this is we received $12 million in grant revenues throughout the year for that same sewer state grants. And we did utilize our $15 million Wells Fargo line of credit, so we would not be down in cash in the time. So there would not be a delay in cash from the receipt of cash from the state versus when the items were expensed. And then we are currently reviewing proposals for a financial planner to determine what we are going to do with financing of the new building regarding the Wells Fargo line of credit and potentially a new debt offering. The plan is to bring that to the board next month, along with the fiscal year 2024 audited financial statements. And at this point, I'm available to answer any questions.
Right. Thank you, Skylar. Director Martin? Director Meyer? Director Dunn?
Welcome. Take
Thank
a
you.
breath. Great job. I'm happy to see the clarity again. It's nice to see the numbers. We haven't had time to get a presentation like this in a while, so we've missed it. But great job. And I would like to just circle back briefly to the 3 million we're waiting for. Is that all just the Nancy Wright sewer related, or is it also FEMA money that we're still waiting for?
No, that's not FEMA money. That's specific to that sewer state water resource control board grant.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Oh, and then I do believe President Sewell, your concern is how much available balance we had on that grants last month. I know we have 9 million left that we can request reimbursement for now, and then the 3 million we're waiting for that we already did request reimbursement. So
Great. Thank you for that. Vice President?
Thank you. Good job. I know Director Duff makes everybody nervous when they're up there, but relax, she's not that bad.
thank you.
Anything further?
Yes,
Thank you, Scott.
Thank you. You did a great job.
Great job. Are we doing public affairs today too?
We are.
Good afternoon, President Sewell, members of the board. Today I have a short presentation that highlights some of the work of the Public Affairs Office in the past month, and additional information is available in your packet. Next slide, please. Some of the events are listed here on the slide, but I wanted to highlight a few, including the blood drive. We had 15 donations of life-saving blood. Each donation helps up to 3 different lives be saved. So it was very, very good blood drive for us. We also had 2 career day / presentations, first at Desert Hot Springs High School for the Real Academy on October 6th. And the second one was at Desert Springs Middle School, where we had more than 300 students stopping by the MSWD booth, asking questions about careers in water. I'd like to thank staff Dory Petit, Will Witten, and our fellow Tyra Harris, who all manned the MSWD booth. They were quite busy during that event. I also wanted to highlight the resource fair on October 27th. That was the one that you might remember that we had the United Way there to help with the Help to Others program. That was a very well-attended event. There was standing room only at different times of the evening. We also had media coverage by KESQ, and also some of the other local papers like You Can Report and others picked that up. We've seen an increase of $450 in pledges this month, and I'm working with Lisa right now to actually include that now moving forward. We'll have a year-to-date total that'll be in your GM report, hopefully starting next month. Also wanted to mention, as part of the EDRI conference, we had a tour of the Nancy Wright facility on October 30th. We had about 30 conference attendees. They had a great tour and we received many thanks and lots of good feedback from the participants. I'd like to shout out for Brad and Andy and the entire wastewater team, as well as Ryan and April. They did a great job of facilitating that tour. Lastly, I also wanted to highlight the Rotary's Happy Healthy Halloween. Dory was there representing MSWD. We had an MSWD bounce house and we were a sponsor. While we didn't have a lot of staff there, we were definitely there we had a presence there at the event. As most of you know, we also were awarded Business of the Year by the Desert Hot Springs State of the City event for the Chamber and the City. It's no secret why MSWD was nominated, and we're very happy. We've seen lots of buzz on social media. We've also got a new pickup recently by the Yukon Report and the El Informador on our award. Look into the future, we've got the Aqua Regions 8, 9, and 10 Southern California Water Tour that starts today. There's the Desert Garden event on November 22nd, where they'll have desert plants for sale, demonstration gardens, speakers, and they're also going to highlight a butterfly and a hummingbird garden. So that should be quite a fun event. We also have the Aqua Fall Conference the first week of December, and the Desert Hot Springs Women's Club Gala on December 6th. It's a Saturday. We'll have an MSWD table, so if anyone would like to attend, we do have room for that. Speaking of holidays, next slide, please. There's several ways that our employees are giving back this year. First is our Thanksgiving non-perishable food drive, November 5th through the 20th. We have boxes both in the courtyard and the admin building for non-perishable food items. Click one more time. There we go. Here's a little video of what Dory came in to see on Monday morning. She was surprised. All of a sudden, our box was completely full Monday morning. And that was thanks due in part to over the weekend, Fernando, one of our wastewater employees, participated in an event with several of his buddies. And to attend the event, they all had to bring some canned foods and they brought it into our food drive. So we're very thankful on that one. Our second way to give back is our snowflake toy drive that I mentioned at the workshop. We have increased our snowflakes this year to 80 different children, and all 80 snowflakes have been adopted. And we're looking forward to delivering those or having those toys here on December 10th. They will be picked up by the first 5 group during our holiday party. We also are putting together the planning right now for our holiday parade entry. This year's theme is Street Art Spectacular. And we're really hoping to make the MSWD float truly shine. We've got several different volunteers who are wanting to put their efforts and their thinking caps together so we can make something fun and spectacular. So we'll see how that all works out, but all are welcome to attend, ride our float or walk along with our float. At the end, there'll be a tree lighting festival at City Hall with free rides, food vendors, live music, and Santa and Mrs. Claus. And lastly, we're encouraging employees to give at our live stream blood drive. That'll be on December 17th. And we're hoping that we'll get a good turnout, just like our most recent one. Looking at our newsletter in October, we had Save Your Pipes for fog, especially as we're moving into the holiday season. We know that there's a lot of holiday cooking. The Aqua Region 9 election results, the growing our own, highlighting our interns. We have the rebates for MSWD smart controllers. And then we also, in looking forward to November, we're looking at the Help to Others, the increase in the funding on that program, the Business of the Year award that I just mentioned a few moments ago, the value of tap water with a fun Black Friday theme. We also have the ways to pay your bill even if we happen to be closed, and then also our blood drive. We did find that last month's mention in the newsletter about the blood drive did bring in several people from the streets, and we're really happy to have to be part of the community in that regard. And one of my last updates, we are making the final adjustments right now to the 2026 community calendar. And we are planning to announce the winners at next month's board meeting. But in the meantime, I wanted to give you all a quick sneak peek at our entries. And that concludes my report for this month. Thank you.
Sorry if I missed it. Did you say how many we received?
We had over 50 entries this year, so we had a good number. A lot of them from the recreation center of the after-school students. You can really see, though, that our messaging is getting out there. I mean, how many the wipes? That's wonderful to see that they're really embracing some of these thoughts. My favorite was probably the Save the Duck. It didn't make it into the calendar, but yeah, it's one of my favorites.
Comments?
Yeah, it's very impressive. I see future Van Gogh's Walt Matisse all represented there. It's really terrific.
You don't like Picasso? Yeah, there was the artwork was really great, more creative and more of a message than that I've seen in the past years, and I think it's really wonderful that the kids are getting involved with this.
Director Nutt?
Fantastic job.
Vice President?
Good job.
Thank you.
Yes, good job. We'll move on to district council comments. And item 20, director comments and requests for future agenda items. Director Martin? Director Meyerhoffen? Director Duff?
I just want to wish all of our staff and all of our community a happy Thanksgiving. I won't be here on Monday, so I just wanted to extend those wishes to my fellow board members and to all of our staff here at MSWD. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. I am thankful for all of you.
Thank you. Vice President?
Yes. Thank you for sending that to me, Ms. Champion. I was not aware of the free dictionary. I'm usually more of a Merriam-Webster myself, but you sent me the thing for clergy, okay? But it's actually pronounced Cluj. And I should not be surprised that you don't pronounce it correctly because you didn't know how to pronounce potable or Azure. But thank you.
And I think we'll just end on that. Meeting is adjourned.